We've saved the best for last. Give him a huge round of applause to Aaron Novello.
Grown-ups, in between, churning babies.
I know you've been sitting for a while. You can stand up, kind of shake it out, right? Move it out a little bit. I'm frequently asked on panels or on podcasts if I have any regrets during my 17-year career selling real estate in high volume, coaching some of the top agents in the country, some of them here in this room. And I was thinking about it recently. Somebody asked me, so I took the time to really think about it. And I came up with 2. And I would like to be vulnerable, just like our boy Jose was vulnerable in the room, and share them with you because I feel very comfortable with you guys. Would that be okay? Yes. Okay, good. So the first regret is taking us back to 2011, okay? 2011, I'd been selling real estate for 4.5 years. I was maniacally and obsessively pursuing a goal of hitting 100 transactions a year, okay? It consumed all of my being. I gave blood, sweat, and tears, right, to accomplish it. And we're in the month of October, and I'm close. I'm like right there. All I have to do is just finish strong, okay? That's all I got to do. And Halloween is approaching. My son is 1 year old, okay? It's his first Halloween. And I'm like, all right, I want to go to the Halloween and do trick-or-treating, but I got this goal of 100 deals, and I'm close. So I schedule an appointment for Halloween at 4:30. Because I figure, look at the moms, they're like, Because I figure, what's up, brother? I figure, I'm a trained professional. I'll be in and out in 30 minutes. Contract signed, move on, right? I'll be back. My wife's like, are you sure? I'm like, I got this. So I sit down at the listing appointment, and it's like $100,000 listing, like not 55 and older, not anything fantastic, but it gets me closer to the 100, right? And I sit down, and an instantaneous when I sit down, have you guys ever seen those memes that are like, at this moment, he realized he fucked up, okay? As soon as I sit down, he's a talker's talker, okay? He is telling me his whole life story from start to finish. He does not breathe for 35 minutes. But then, to put the icing on top of it, I find out as he's blabbing and telling me his whole life story that he is a retired negotiator for unions. Anybody who's been on appointments know, as soon as you hear that shit, I was like, oh my God. He is somebody whose identity is wrapped up into negotiating and getting a good deal. But then I have Halloween happening behind me. So I'm like, all right, let's get to it. I do the presentation. We get to the part about commissions. Your boy's a trained professional. We go round and round in a circle for like 40 minutes because he's a retired union negotiator. And finally, exasperated and frustrated, I'm just pissed off at this point, and I get up and leave. Okay? It's dark out. I didn't get the listing, and I also didn't get an opportunity to witness Sebastian's first Halloween. You'll notice in this picture, the people that are here. That is my mom. That is my wife, Carla. That is Sebastian, who greeted you guys. Who is missing from that picture? Because I wasn't there. Okay? The second regret happened more recently, and it happened as a result of somebody in this room. I was on a coaching call with Lars. He was my coach. Coaches get coached. And he likes to start his coaching calls in a very interesting way, something that I was not accustomed to, nor did I like. Because I'm a hard-charging type A personality. So he would say, hey, I want you to give me professional wins. And I'm like, great, got that. Then he's like, personal wins. And on the personal wins, guys, struggles. Grasping at straws, like groping, like I had nothing. Professional wins, though, guess what? Got along with this, right? And finally, Lars is like, he's so gracious, but he finally is like exasperated with me. And he's like, look, dude, if you don't come back to the next call with a personal win, we're not going to do this anymore. As a hard charger, he got my attention. Okay, he means business. He's not fucking around. right? So I proceed to start to pay attention and look for a personal win. And I am so excited because I got one. I'm like, ask me that question. I'm ready, right? So I'm like, yeah, like get past the professional wins. Just ask me the personal one. I'm ready. So he's like, personal wins. I'm like, I got it. I went to my son's soccer game. Now, to put that in the context, the year previously, I had only gone to one of his soccer games at school. Now, the reason is because they're at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That would mean I don't have to stop what I'm doing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, drive to Summit Cuesta, watch the game, pretend like I'm watching it, fucking, and then drive back, right? Totally interrupt me doing all my transactions. So I'm like, yeah, dude, I went to this game, and I'm like so proud. I'm like, I went to my son's soccer game. But then I shared with him, I was like, playfully, here's Sebastian's reaction. When he saw me at the game, he went like this. He was shocked. When I said that to Lars, I was joking, playing. I was like, yeah, bro. He was like this. Bro, Lars looked at me through Zoom into my soul, and he said to me, that's terrible. I'd never had anybody speak to me in that way. If you ever got the wind knocked out of you, that's what that question felt like to me, or that statement. And I didn't know what the way is, but I was going to find the way or make the way, right? I had turned myself into the type of person that can sell 2,000 homes, 80% of that business listing sold, do it year after year after year after year, 100 deals a year, 10 years in a row, 200 deals a year twice. It was no longer acceptable to me to trade off what I was trading off in my personal life. It was not acceptable anymore. But I didn't know what the way was. Have you ever in a personal context or a professional context said, I don't know what the way is, but I'm gonna either find the way or make the fucking way? Anybody besides me? Yeah, that's the state that you need to get yourself into. And that question and some other things helped me to get in that state, because in the right state, you'll come up with the right story and the right strategy. As a coach, people come to us and want to talk about strategy, but it's really about your state of being, because in the right state, you'll figure it out. So I was in the right state, but I didn't know what to do. So what I did is I surrounded myself with the best coaches, the best trainers, the best mentors. Some of these people that are in this room. Because I believe you're one relationship away from changing your family tree for the rest of your life. We heard that from Jose. And some of those relationships, I was that relationship for him, one of them, but Lars and John are those relationships for me. Okay? And I really started to think about leverage, really started to look at different vehicles, different strategies, different approaches, because a lazy mind's answer is just to work harder. Listen to what I just said to you. All you guys grew up in families that 65% of us live paycheck to paycheck. You heard shit like money doesn't grow on, eat all the food on your, and a penny saved is a penny, which is horseshit because it's a penny. And if you want it done, you got to do it guys, isn't it funny that like we all are like chanting the same thing, like the Pledge of Allegiance? It's just programming, guys. But look at the people who gave you that programming. What are their lives like? Difficult. Right? This is true. So I got access to the best trainers, the best coaches, the best mentors, really expanded my thinking, started thinking about vehicles differently, started thinking about leverage differently. And in the calendar year of 2023, I only missed one of Sebastian's soccer games. I have not sold one piece of real estate in 13 months. And my residual income from investments in Rev Share supersedes my living expenses by a factor of 2. Now, I believe everybody in this room, okay, with the right strategy, the right proximity, the right understanding of this vehicle, okay, and the right understanding of leverage, you can do anything I've done in half the time, okay? I spent the last 17 years of my career selling 2,000 properties, right? Starting a coaching company, 100 coaching clients, 12 of which make over $1 million a year. All of that was to prepare me for this. You can spend a whole lifetime preparing yourself for one opportunity, and I'm telling you, this is it. So I'm going to share with you 3 things today, Okay. The first one is I'm going to give you examples of other companies that do Rev Share. You just don't realize it or think about it. And I promise you, when I share them with you, you'll know them immediately. Okay. The second thing we're going to have a brief conversation about is actual leverage, because there's different forms and different types. And truthfully, until 19 months ago, I had a rudimentary understanding of leverage. And I would propose most of you do in this room. Okay. We're going to talk about this thing called the opportunity ladder. And you can start to ask yourself a question where you are on the opportunity ladder. And then I'll show you what this vehicle has done for me. Who's up for this? Say aye. Let's go. One more time. Who's up for this? Say aye. That's what I'm talking about. Good. So the first person we're going to talk about that has participated in a Rev Share opportunity is this guy. How many people know who this guy is? Yeah. Okay. So you may have a goat, but that doesn't make him the goat. This guy is the goat. Okay. Now, most people don't realize is the vast majority of his wealth was created via Rev Share. So I'm super excited to have this conversation, and the walk-up music was right because it had to do with taking off. And we are going to be talking about Rev Share 2.0, and we brought with us a monster, a beast, part of our senior leadership. His name is John Mikesh, done everything in real estate, 2,300 agents and counting in his organization, 7-figure earner. Appreciate you being here with us, brother.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure. Just excited to be a part of your journey as well. And what you guys are doing is amazing.
For sure, dude. So I always for you, I'm like, hey, I got 2 things to say to you, bro. Number 1 is thank you. Number 2 is you're welcome.
That's the beauty of this thing, man. There's just like perfect alignment, like where else or when else did we ever get in business before where we could get into business with people and there wasn't complicated contracts. There wasn't like hands in cookie jars. Like this is just us aligning. And what's best for me is best for you. And I just freaking love that about this opportunity.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing where me and you and Jose, I didn't even know who John Mikesh was prior to this. And now in a very short period of time, we collaborated at a super high level. You came to our first gala and stuff and have been an awesome kind of partner. So yeah, dude, we're super appreciative of being in business with you. And I wanted to have you specifically on this call with us because there's been a pretty seismic shift and change in the revenue share model that eXp provides. And I know that there's other models out there that we will say took what Glenn did and try to tinker with numbers and say that it's better and all that. I do believe that there's more room for more than one cloud-based brokerage. At the same time, I think being first to market matters. So I guess first, let's start off with, if you can explain verbally with words as simplified as you can, what Rev Share was previous.
We pioneered the Rev Share model. I do believe all future companies of any significant size will have a revenue sharing model. So, there are competitors out there. I think that's a good thing for all of us. I think that, keeps us honest and moves us forward in a positive way. Now, when they created the Rev Share model 14 years ago, there wasn't anything to copy. It was uncharted territory. So they laid out a plan. They were like, hey, this is what we think we can scale. And then throughout that, we went through just hockey stick like growth. So I joined eXp. We're 14 years old now. I joined eXp in like their 10th to 11th year in that time frame. And that was back in 2020. I joined in like this hyper growth period. And right before I joined in 2019, the company was looking at the Rev Share model and they were like, wow, it's like really growing like fast. And like, we have to make sure this is scalable and sustainable to infinity, not to 100,000 agents or 500,000 agents, but they actually modeled it out to be scalable to infinity. And the way that they did that was they introduced what's called an SRS buffer. And the SRS buffer means that the company will never pay out more than 50%. And they'll never pay out less than 50% of the company dollar.
What we're talking about here is sustainability. So I know a lot of agents are very much so kind of thinking from an agent perspective, which is perfectly fine as far as doing deals and making commissions. From a business perspective, when you look at compensation plans, one of the things that are critical is 1, is it proven?
Yes.
2, is it sustainable? And part of the reason why, and you would know better than me, right? I'll kind of defer to you based on my understanding, that paying out no more than 50% is that if you're not careful and you start paying out more than 50%, which I think there's some models that are out there that are doing, in order to grow,
Sure.
that becomes problematic from a business perspective because you will lose money over time.
Well, way before I got into eXp, I ran an independent real estate brokerage for a lot of years. And one of the things that I would always communicate to my people is that profits are good. Profits protect people. If this company doesn't have profit, guess what happens? Yours truly steps in and becomes your competitor. Your team leader steps in and starts selling houses. So I'm a fan of profit. Like, companies need profit in order to be sustainable. So that 50-50 initiative allows the company to operate and run off of 50% of the company dollar, which they've proven they can run profitably very well. So I'm a big fan of it. Like, when people start talking about our buffer, other people, competitors, other people that are trying to recruit against us will say like, oh, hey, they're dropping the Rev Share. And one of the things that's critical to understand, the reason why I'm explaining this whole buffer concept, is that the company was already operating before this change at a 50-50 initiative. So they were paying out 50% of the company dollar, no more, no less. Now, all we've done with this new change is we've made some significant enhancements. These are the biggest enhancements that have been made to the revenue share pool at eXp since the inception of the company. And we'll get into what those enhancements are, but all we did was redistribute the revenue share pool slightly in order to benefit more people, but we didn't take anything away from them, which I think is a key point to understand.
Yeah. So if we could go a little bit deeper on that, because I hear the word redistribute, and for some people in their mind, they may be thinking like, oh, that means like less, that means it's therefore like not as good. If you could explain a little bit what you mean by that.
Yeah. So, we have a 7-level revenue sharing plan. So, I can come in and I can recruit you, Aaron, and you would be on my level 1, and you could recruit Jose. Jose would be on my level 2, your level 1, so on and so forth for 7 levels deep. What's amazing about that is the compound effect over 7 levels is significant. Now, when they take the revenue sharing pool, so that 50% of company dollar, they distribute that amongst those 7 levels. What they've done in this change is they've made it easier to obtain income, to earn revenue share on the first 3 levels. And they've done that by taking just a small percentage away from the bottom levels, the top levels. And I'm totally in favor of that. In fact, everybody at the company who was like kind of talking about these changes as they were coming about, we all said we would be willing to take a haircut on some of the lower levels in order to facilitate growth and help the people that are just getting started.
Yeah, so I want everybody to be really clear about what you're saying. So I know one of the knocks that I hear, because I'm having conversations with agents all the time,
Sure.
and then there's a competitor or competitors who will say like, yeah, but we don't have 6 or 7 levels, but only like 1% of the company makes it to those levels anyway. So like, you might as well not even pay attention to it. It doesn't matter, which to me logically is like, well, wait a minute. Like, are you basically saying right out of the gate that you're not going to be one of those people? And number 2, at least I want the opportunity. Like, why would I not want the opportunity, right? And what just came up for me as I heard you explaining that, it's like, okay, this change, if it affects anybody, will affect actually people that have already accomplished 6 and 7 levels, which is a very small portion of the population. But because the 6th and 7th end up being the biggest, they have in the past got a disproportional amount of the rewards. So what all of those individuals are saying is what Tom Brady said, which was like, yeah, dude, I am willing to a little bit for a long-term game, which is to win championships.
And let's just kind of define like what a little bit is, right? So let's say that we have a huge organization at eXp. We're making, 7 figures plus, let's just say, on those lower levels, levels 4 through 7. What we're talking about is, potentially in the short term, a 5 to 10% haircut on those lower levels in order to benefit all the people on the, levels 1, 2, and 3, what we would call the top levels, the closest levels. And why would I want to do that? Like, if I was in that position, why would I want to take that haircut?
Yeah, because you're one of those people.
Yeah, because what's good for my people is good for me. And that's kind of how we open this up with this perfect alignment and this plan. So, if I take a 5% haircut, Aaron, but it benefits you and it allows you to grow quicker and easier and faster, ultimately that's what's best for me. If I'm trying to grow and it's making it harder for my people below me that are newer or the emerging leaders to grow, that's not good for me long term. And again, what's good for one is good for all. And I think the company just said, okay, we got to 90,000 agents. What got us here won't get us there. We have huge plans and vision and leadership in place to take us to that next level of 250,000 agents. What's going to help us do that is new and emerging talent facilitating their growth journey. So I couldn't be more excited about it. When I joined eXp, I had eXp insomnia. I couldn't sleep for a week. I was like, once I got it, like it just was unbelievable. I haven't had that feeling like that since. And this announcement, man, I was up all day and night when they first released it. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And we'll get into some of the qualification things that they've done to make it easier as well. But it's truly taking the opportunity to the next level because it's facilitating that growth and the ability for people to come in and earn income easier and faster than ever before.
Yeah. And I know that everything rises and falls on leadership. And what this does is it allows leadership to emerge in those first three lines, not requiring, which we'll get into, any frontline qualifying agents and what that definition is in order to unlock the full amount of Rev Share that's available. Because in the past, you had to have a certain number of frontline qualifying agents. You still would have received Rev Share on those lines, just not the full amount. And that allows people to participate in Rev Share that perhaps aren't these kind of mega attractors who have built enormous organizations, and they can start to earn, a meaningful amount of income from, perhaps only a handful of agents.
Yeah. And I think one of the other key things, something that a mentality that I try to foster within my organization is that simplicity scales and complexity fails. And I think our old model over time, as we've grown and we've learned things about this, we innovated the space. It wasn't there before, is that some of the aspects of the way our compensation plan was designed before were more complex than they needed to be. And now we've discovered, okay, we can, make this simpler, make this easier to understand. And as we do that, I think we paved the way to the next stage of recruiting and growth for our company because it's simple, it's easy to understand. And to your point about the qualifications, we've removed all qualifications on levels 1 to 3. Most people, unless they're in this model, won't grasp the impact of how important that is. But, before we made this change, if you came in, you could recruit somebody and get paid when they sold the house. And then if they recruited somebody, you could potentially get paid on that other person, but you had to do some things to qualify for that first. And in our previous model, that meant you had to have 5 qualified agents that you personally recruited in order to open up that potential income on that second level. And you needed 10 people that you personally sponsored in order to unlock that income on the third level. So still very generous, very doable for somebody that's committed to it. But by removing those qualifications for those 3 levels, what they've essentially done, Aaron, is they've given us the ability, any agent now, to be one recruit away from a significant life-changing income opportunity. Because in the past, if I had recruited one person, say I recruited a large independent brokerage and they had 50 agents, well, I would get credit for the broker. They would be my personal recruit, but all those agents would come in under that broker. They'd be on my level 2. I would only get paid on all of those agents if I had that level open. Case in point, we had a guy right here locally to me in Bozeman, Montana. He was a part-time agent at an independent brokerage. He came in, we recruited him, and he brought his broker to the table. We laid it all down for his broker and said, hey, it makes sense. I'm going to join. And his broker joined with 23 agents. Unfortunately, in our previous model, that didn't allow the agent who introduced us to that broker to really capitalize on all that income that was, coming through his fingers. And with this new plan, you can recruit one. All the people they recruit and all the people those people recruit, you're going to get paid on all those without any qualifications. I think it's going to go down in history as a defining decision in our company and what will ultimately grow to. And I couldn't be more excited about it.
Yeah, I love that. So I told Jose, I called him immediately. I'm like, hey, bro. He's like, what's up? I'm like, you're about to get a nice little bump, my friend. So for Jose, that's what that was. He was one person away. You know, I partnered with him, and since then he's up to like 300 plus agents. And he was his fourth line because of the frontline qualifying agent requirements. He had almost 100 agents there, and he wasn't receiving the full amount of rev share, and now he will.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk about this in a little bit.
I've got a question.
Oh man, Jose has something to say. You got something to say, bro? Hey.
Let's go, Jose.
Hey, did the percentages on level 1 to 3 change, or did those stay the same? And now it's just easier to qualify on those.
Yeah, great question. So the percentages did change. First of all, prior to this change, our percentages were based on what's known as adjusted gross commission income. Mm-hmm. And in order for an agent to cap at eXp, they would need to earn $80,000 in gross commission income, because 20% of 80,000 is 16,000. So don't want to get too in the weeds on that, but like if you can follow me with the math, you would need as an agent to earn $80,000 to cap at eXp. Previously, our percentages were based on that gross income calculation. So we were saying, okay, you can make X percent on level 1, and it was percent of that total adjusted gross commission income. What they've done now is they've said, okay, our model at eXp is a $16,000 cap. That means that we bring in $16,000 as a company from the agent per year, based on what they sell. If they only sell one house and they only pay us $4,000, then there's only $4,000. But the max that it's going to be is $16,000. So with this new model, we're basing those percentages off of the 50% revenue share pool. So $16,000 is the cap. $8,000 of that, if they cap, goes into the revenue share pool. And our new percentages are based on that money. The reason that's important is because that's a clear number to understand, and it's tied directly to the amount of money's coming in. So before, and I think all of the other companies that are out there that are, you know, a revenue sharing model, they talk in up to or max potential. What we've done is we've redesigned it to talk about minimum guarantees. So, hey, if they do this, you can count on that. And then any unrealized revenue share that flows through because maybe somebody leaves our company or retires and don't maintain their license, or maybe somebody comes in and they don't have levels 4, 5, 6, 7 open yet. So there's no qualifications on levels 1 through 3. The qualification on level 4 is 5 agents that are qualified. Again, historically, like ridiculously low qualification. But if an agent didn't have those 5 agents, that income on that 4th level would be uncaptured, and they're going to redistribute that among the agents as well. So we're still going to get a bonus every month from any unrealized income, because again, the company's not going to take any of this money. It's our money in the revenue sharing pool, and you're going to earn it. And if you didn't earn it, it's going to go back into the pool, and they're going to redistribute that as well. So to answer your questions, the percentages have changed, but it's understanding what they were before and what they were based on before, what they're based on now. Now it's super simple. There's $8,000 in income for every capping agent. That's 50% of the company dollar, and they're redistributing that now, and no qualifications on level 1, 2, 3. They've also put an incentive in place. I always think that incentives should be tied to the actions that you want to take. At least this is the way I did it when I ran my team. I'm like, hey guys, an incentive, a bonus, it's like fertilizer. And if I'm the one investing in the fertilizer, I'm only going to invest in the fertilizer if it changes the outcomes that we all want, which is more sales and more productivity. Similar to that, the company's put a bonus in place for personally sponsored agents. So if I personally sponsored you, Jose, I would be eligible in your first year. If you cap, I would get a $4,000 bonus. And this is just like amazing to me, because it's the most payout we've ever had on the level 1. And what it allows for is it allows for me to be compensated for the activities that are good for you and the company. So I can go out and personally sponsor agents. I can make a $4,000 bonus for each capping agent. If they don't cap, that's okay too. I'll still earn a percentage of that $4,000 as they're approaching their cap. And it's just the greatest payout we've ever had. And it's going to incentivize a lot of future growth in our company. Now they're incentivized even more so to recruit an agent financially. And then as they recruit those agents and help those agents grow, they're further incentivized because they don't have to hit qualifications to unlock that second level and third level. So it's amazing, guys. Like Leo Pareja, our new CEO, just stepped into that role shortly, just about a month ago. This announcement, biggest announcement we've had as a company since the inception. Most exciting thing I've seen in the company in the 3.5 years I've been a part of it. And I'm excited, man. It's going to be a lot of growth.
It is, dude. It's going to be a lot. And then to put that into context, that $4,000 bonus, yeah, it's for 1 year, but that's usually what the payout was on the 7th level.
Yeah.
So that gets bumped all the way up to the first as an incentive for attracting people to frontline. And then very quickly, I think the other thing that it does is, because something I hear a lot, John, I don't know if you hear this, and they're like, well, like you could do that. And like, oh yeah. And for some reason they think
you're
like it's outside.
Coach, so you could do it because you're a coach or you're a team leader.
Yeah, or you do the media thing, and like, I don't know, and you would think that when I show people these numbers, they leap out of their chair and they're like, "Let's go," and that is not what happens. What ends up happening is I hear all the reasons why they can't, which is them like just projecting their own kind of insecurities onto me. At the same time, though, what this does from an incentive perspective is it makes the mountain to climb a molehill. Like it really makes it much, much easier to very quickly with an organization of, 30, 50. You ready? Here's the crazy part. How much capital does this require? How much capital does this require? How much capital does this require? Wow. And just initial time. Because I was talking to John Micah. He took a year off. He came back because his organization was bigger.
That doesn't happen in real estate.
It does not. No matter what you do.
You take a year off, your team.
It dies.
All these people up on stage, you coach them. Is there any team, any agent that has stepped back from a team and now it just runs itself?
Very few. It's really fucking hard because you know what the problem is? Most people who try to create teams are what? Technicians. And because of that, they're addicted to the way that they receive money, which means they're never gonna do what? Fully let it go. That's why. Does that make sense? Yeah. So they're just stuck with it. But if you notice, as you're going up the opportunity ladder, look, I'm adding leverage. So this is capital plus, so these are mechanisms to raise cash. That's all these are, just mechanisms to raise cash. This is, I'm getting the leverage of labor because other people are managing, and the leverage of capital, leverage of labor and the leverage of capital. And this is the leverage of code. But what am I using to grow all of it? Content. So I'm using all four. Does that make sense? Which makes sense as to why there's a hyper speed in what we're doing. Because I'm just adding leverage. But you know what the deal with the stock portfolio is? You have to sell it in order to fucking, and it produces, like with index funds, it produces a 2% dividend. So if you have $1 million, it's like fucking $20,000. Like what are you gonna do with $20,000? Jose spends $20,000 on like food.
Don't spend it all in one place.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, bro, don't spend it all in one place, bro. Least leverage, and it compounds.
That's what Justin says.
How long did it
take that
take?
shit out of there and put it to a more leveraged.
A more leveraged and a more efficient vehicle. Yeah, so he was telling me, like, let's say if you had $1 million in the stock market. If you did a life insurance policy, and this is where it's different. People are like, I don't know. But if you do a life insurance policy, you put that, he actually told me $1.5 million, but let's say it's $1.5 million in the stock market. You put $1.5 million in a life insurance policy, that'll give you an $8 million benefit. Okay? What they allow you to do is borrow every year against your death benefit. $101,000. That would last till you were like 85 years old. And you pay 0 taxes on that money. So you've just turned that money into a stream of income that's $9,000 a month. Versus what is 1.5 times 2% is like 30 grand divided by 12 is like 3,000, like $2,500. What the fuck are you gonna do with $2,500, bro? Rent's fucking $4,000, $5,000. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, those things aren't bad. They're just like, they're just slow. They're Hondas. So I still do them. It's not like I've got rid of that, but like you see as we're aggressively moving, all of this is in an effort to create margin so I can spend more, time with the people, doing the things I want to do with the people I love and care about. and I want to do what I want, when I want, with who I want, where I want. Any questions about this? Is this clear? Bro, when he did this for me, I got it immediately. This is one of the things that allowed me to let go of the first thing, right? So I think if you have a conversation with Justin, it'd be helpful. He can break this down for you and be like, yo, so I was talking to Lars, he's talking to me about die with zero, and he's talking to me about fucking, like, you know, you're gonna die with a lot of money, like you don't even need it. And then I had a conversation with Justin and he shows me this, and I was like, fuck. But that was in order to let go of a belief that I still had to keep doing it. Right? That's exactly right, Jose. Now, and the goal, and here's what's going to be crazy. You ready? This is going to be bigger than all of this. In like 3 years, it'll be bigger than all of this stuff in terms of the cash that it produces.
While at the same time, keeping the hours committed about the same.
Keeping the hours committed about the same. And then what the idea is as this starts to become a cash beast, bro, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a month, then I'm only like, I'm gonna live off like maybe 20 or 25 or whatever. And then all the rest is gonna go where? Back into, and it just becomes a machine, right? Yep. That is independent of me. So most people aren't thoughtful about what vehicle they pour their life energy into. And all the jobs you've had in your life, where have you been on the opportunity ladder? That's such a good fucking question. Because we've all had a lot of jobs in our life. I know I have. I've been a fucking telemarketer. I was a busboy. I know you worked at restaurants. I was a fucking lifeguard. Hated that job. I washed cars. I fucking babysat. I, worked at the university. I had all these different jobs, right? But where was I on the opportunity ladder with all of my jobs, including in real estate?
What percentage of people do you think are like use all four?
Very few, and the ones that do are the ones that are fucking crushing it.
But it's few.
Few. So one who does is Grant Cardone. He uses all four. Labor, capital, content, and code, which is his what's it called, university, like his online software program. He uses all four. But if you think about this, again, in all the jobs you've had in your life, where were you on the opportunity ladder? Even as a cop, where are you on the opportunity ladder? Labor. You are the labor, which is okay. It's not bad. You don't have to feel bad about it. But that's where you are. Even as an agent, where are you on the opportunity ladder? I'm labor, bro. I am labor. I just get paid a bunch of money for doing what I'm doing compared to most, but I'm still labor. Who do you know that is higher on the opportunity ladder, and what is their life like? Bro, do you remember when you told me you went to Collective Genius and you were like, bro, there's another level? And I'm like, what do you mean? So, okay, and again, I mean this lovingly. I'm not picking on anybody. Because I'm going to say something and you guys are going to be like, I don't mean it that way. You notice at the break, that's due because of a lack of leverage and where I am on the opportunity ladder. What am I doing at the break? Whatever the fuck I want to do. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, who do I know that's higher on the opportunity ladder, and what is their life like? I know people who make a lot of money, $5 million a year, and their life is not. It's like, would you trade life with them? I don't think I would. Yeah. But I know somebody like Lars who's higher up the opportunity ladder, who uses more forms of leverage. Yes. What his life is like is for his 50th birthday, he takes a month off. What his life is like is every year for his wedding anniversary, he takes his wife on a $30,000 vacation. What his life is like is last month he went to 3 different places, China, Japan, or wherever, and he came back and he still made $85,000 in a month. Think to yourself, who do you really know that's higher up the opportunity ladder? Tall is higher up the opportunity ladder, but he's only using 2 forms, which is somebody else's money because he has a credit line, and labor, other people's labor. He does not use content and he does not use code, but guess what? If he used content, really used it, he could raise money for syndications and he'd fucking explode. He'd have a plane. Do you see? So that's just an interesting question. Who do I know that's higher up the opportunity ladder, and what is their life like? Do they play golf during the week and not fucking think about it? I thought it was so interesting because I was playing pickleball on Fridays, because now I have like Fridays where I have time, and I don't have anything in my schedule. I'm playing pickleball, and there's a group of guys that are in the back and they're playing with each other and they're like, aggressive or whatever. And I start to talk to one of the guys. He's like, yeah, it's like this group. I'm like, oh, like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, it's kind of like a mastermind group. I'm like, oh. I'm like, do you guys pay to get in? He's like, yeah, you have to show your tax returns and you have to net $2 million a year to get in the group. And if you're not in the group, they kick you out. But I thought to myself, here they are playing pickleball at fucking 9 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Not on a Friday, not like, hey bro, I gotta go, I got some shit I gotta get to, let's hurry this shit up. Like, no, just shooting the shit, hanging out. And I thought to myself, yeah, bro, there are people that do that. What do they do for They own businesses. They own businesses. But they have labor, they have, you know what I'm saying? Like, they run real businesses, actual businesses.
Well, it's amazing how widely successful you can be with only a couple of the leverage activities.
Correct.
Right.
And imagine if you
got all.
And I think the interesting part is like what it makes me think about is like Neil. So Neil, it took him like fucking 30 years to accumulate a certain amount of residual income. Lars passed him in 2.5 years. So what do you think stops people from moving up the ladder? That's my question.
Not willing to change.
I think the first one is just not knowing
What's
the ladder.
Yes.
The opportunity. That's the very big.
And my hope is that now, even if you thought you knew this, like now you have a deeper understanding.
Know it or know of it, and it makes it more probable that you of it.
Then you'll move up.
You don't even know it exists. It's kind of like you think that what you're doing
Is the way. It's like, yeah, it's like when I'm on calls with people and they're like, yeah, I want to grow my team. I'm like, okay.
That's how you treat people.
I know, I'm just like, yeah, okay. Like, why? They don't understand the opportunity ladder.
But that also brings up, like, you can know it too, because you've told it to me how many fucking times?
A bunch.
Right? But you've got to be around other people that are fucking doing it too.
And for me to show you, like, look, here's what we're doing. And really, in some of, because like, I feel like me and Jose learn from each other now, where it was like, it was kind of like he was learning from me how to sell real estate high volume, but now we learn from each other. So he watched me push into like classes and like that sort of stuff. And then I watched him push into the content space. And I was like, and I'm competitive and he's competitive. I'm like, fuck that guy, bro. Like, so what do you think stops people from moving up the opportunity ladder? Once they know it. Because now you know. Proximity? Meaning what? Fear? Okay, but tell me a little bit more about proximity. What do you mean by that?
I mean, like surrounding yourself
With people that are like, let's do this. Okay, that's cool. And then
Because I
fear.
think it's harder for you to just do it on your own,
I agree.
right?
Like jumping into the ocean.
Like jumping in the ocean.
By yourself.
Just like Jose said, if he was by himself, he wouldn't have done it. That's exactly it. Bro, you were really fucking like, you was really stressed out about this shit.
landmark out there, and then we were gonna have to swim individually and swim back. So I was like, fuck. I'm like literally just gonna.
Bro, what I love about this is he's like, bro, I lost sleep over this shit yesterday. But what I think is fantastic is the following, because he said it to me, he pulled me aside, he's like, bro, I think some people think like I'm never afraid of anything. How many people have looked at Jose and what he does and thought like, wow, like that's fucking amazing? Besides me, how many people have done that? Yeah. And how many people think like, you're like, oh yeah, he's just fearless. Anybody besides me ever thought that about him? Yeah. Well, you got a demonstration today that he still has fear about certain things. He's not like, the difference is that he feels the fear and he does it anyway. You just do it.
Shows him. That is good.
No.
That is good.
You might shiver a little
You can
bit.
see the bottom of the fucking sharks. That, like, not seeing underneath that, I'll do it, Like,
But you know what eliminates a fear from experience? I was telling Mark, swim with sharks.
Oh, to swim with sharks?
I'm certified. I went scuba diving. We did two dives.
You did that, didn't you? I think I saw it on social.
Yeah, I've done it a few times, but this time was like dozens of sharks, like down there.
Oh, really?
I got to pet one that was sleeping.
Bro, if Jose was in the water, you might see a little out the back of his pants.
At the beginning, I was freaking out.
Were you?
Then yeah, of course. But then it's like you get so much confidence all around. Like I'm here already, And you got to a point that I was swimming with it next to it,
Question is though, is if I don't intentionally and purposely move myself up the opportunity ladder, would I be okay with that? would I be okay with sitting in my rocking chair and being like, you know, I wonder what would have happened if, and that's
23, I heard this.
yeah, and that's part of the reason why I did what I was doing, because I was, again, it's also that competition thing. Like I saw Jose and what he was doing, and I'm like, I don't want to be on his boat and be like, God damn it, like why didn't I do that shit? You know what I mean?
The other thing that worked out for me, John Tsai had reached out to me back in 2017 when he just got started. He said, hey, this opportunity. He said, no, it's a distraction. I need to sell real estate in high volume. And then when it came back around in 2021 and I saw 85,000, I'm like, too true. One is truer than the other.
One is truer than the other. Yeah, because yeah, well, you were both right, but he was more right.
He was more right, yeah.
Yeah, it just took you a while to see it. But you also had, it's interesting because there's like a unifying, you also had been, like you'd been, whether it's like with me or with Lars, you've been having conversations with people about that type of stuff. Yeah. And your brain was more open to it.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and then immediately you were like, oh yeah, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be great, da, da, da. And then what's interesting too, you would think like you think like because he has like influence and when he started like he recruited all these people. Is that what happened? Yeah. What happened?
I ignored it for 6 months.
6 months, bro. He didn't even pay attention to it.
I ignored it, and there was a reason though. Like when I left Remax, the broker told me, look, you're not gonna be able to sell what you would sell at Remax.
Hey, does that sound familiar?
Because you don't have a big. It doesn't take like a lot of people to grow it. It just takes a couple of people that are really high level, and that's all you need sometimes. You know?
If you're at Starbucks, 7 out of 10 people live paycheck to paycheck. It's very difficult to move away from that and think like, no, I need to get big. Because we were told staying small is what? Don't make too much noise, don't stand out, don't make a fuss, get a pension.
Once you create and go through this process, now I told you, 3 people full time. So I have a listing coordinator. Agents call her through the MLS. She answers all the questions. If she needs me, then she contacts me. I only get to touch that deal once we get an offer and we get under contract. After that, I send it back. And then see you at closing, which is usually, I believe, that's
right.
So that's one. The other person that I have an operations manager. It's my brother. He takes care. He supervises everything too, making sure that they're doing their job. He helps me with the marketing that we do. We do a lot of social media. We're hosting a lot of events. So he's my, that's another way to build your business too. You can hire a manager, a supervisor. Usually it's not the trend. It's not how you do it. I've noticed in real estate, but it's another way. Somebody in marketing, a marketing person. And the third person that I recently, maybe 6 months, a full-time video editor. I'm doing a lot of content on social media. So I find myself, we were talking about that. Recording yourself is not, once you get comfortable being in front of the camera, it's not the difficult part. It's editing the clips and putting it out there. So I'm doing it at a volume, like Aaron is doing too, that you need somebody that does it. Either you outsource it or you bring it, full staff. But that's at least in my case, that I'm being intentional and aggressive on social media. In your case, if you focus your business maybe on networking, maybe you need somebody that helps you do events like this and coordinate events with the food, with the drinks, securing the location.
To follow up with everybody who came.
Follow up, to create the Eventbrite list. You know what I mean? All of that.
These are all SOPs too.
Yeah, they're all SOPs.
All of these are SOPs. It's just that depending on the business, then you know which type of SOPs you need.
So once you sign a listing agreement, you delegate the communication with the seller?
I pretty much, yeah. It has to be, very picky seller that that wants me to be in communication, but most of the time I just put it in communication. And the reality is that you don't need a much interaction between seller and herself. They just want maybe updates or showings. Hey, somebody's want to show this property. You can send that in a text.
And I imagine when it comes time to ask for a price adjustment, it's you though.
Yes. That's when I jump in. When it comes to price reductions, I jump in. I call the sellers. I try to call sellers once a week to give them an update on the property, and whatever is going on, and whenever it's time to a price reduction, and obviously to discuss offers.
Because that
has to do with the negotiation.
That's doctor work.
That's doctor work.
Whenever I say that, my wife's like, "You're not a doctor," and I'm like, I'm a doctor of selling. So that's doctor work, which is having those conversations.
But everything, think about it like this. Everything that you can put that is not negotiation, that you can put in a piece of paper, that can follow a process that doesn't have to be you can leverage and pass it up. Trust me, that's when the magic happens.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do any of you guys ever have clients that only want to work with you?
They don't want to interact with
We
anybody
usually
else?
don't take those clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
The question is, have you ever had a client that doesn't want to work with anybody else or interact with anybody else?
Correct.
Or they get charged a premium,
Yeah.
like on the legal side.
I haven't honestly.
Yeah, I do. Sure.
I get those. I tell them they do their job better than I would do their job. Like if they don't want to speak to my processor, they speak to me.
Yeah, and yeah, so we like our transaction coordinator, like a rock star. And when they would give pushback, I'm like, yeah, I appreciate that. She's been with me for all like 2,000 transactions. Truthfully, she's better at it than I am. So I oversee the process, but she will be the point of contact moving forward. Make sense? And they're like, no, I guess so.
Usually is setting the expectations.
Yeah,
Even as soon as you sign that listing or sign that buyer, you set the expectations. Okay, perfect. We're ready to work together. So just so you know, my
Listing coordinator.
my listing coordinator, my transaction, she's gonna be contacting you. She's awesome. She's gonna be available for you. So whenever I cannot pick up your call, it's gonna be there. So you can be in touch with us 24 hours. You know what I mean? Like it's setting the expectations so they don't think and expect that you are the one that has to be.
And the same thing, and here's how I would word it language-wise, right? So when I first started doing this, I didn't do a transition. So people would be like, who the hell is Donna? Like, why is she calling me?
Yeah.
It's a handoff.
Because I didn't do a baton handoff. And there's just a little language that you can use. It's like, great, now that we have a fully executed agreement, my assistant, her name is Donna. She's my personal assistant, which makes her your personal assistant to the transaction.
That's good.
She's gonna be reaching out to you within 24 to 48 hours, introducing herself. She's gonna be the one that schedules appraisals and inspections. She reports to me regularly and I oversee the process. She'll be the point of contact moving forward. And they're like, okay, yeah, it's a script. And I would say it 10, 15 times a month, every single time. And the thing you have to understand is people are looking to be led. Our job is to lead them. If you don't believe me, watch what would happen. If we were in a place, like let's say, that place up here that's got all the restaurants, and a group of people, we all stood outside and we looked up, within 10 minutes, we'd have a crowd of people looking up like, what the hell are we looking at? People are looking to be led. You ever seen those videos where somebody's like, oh my God, there's somebody famous. It's just like a dude and then like the whole mall like goes nuts. And it's just like some guy. People are looking to be led. Our job is to lead them. But we are afraid to do it because we're like, oh, if I tell them what to do, they're gonna get mad and like blah, blah, blah. But like they don't do this 10 times a month. They do it like once every 10 years. They're like, oh, this is the way it's done. You're like, yeah. And they're like, okay, cool.
No? I thought you did.
So you delegate.
This is blowing this guy's mind right now. He's like, God damn. So wait a minute, let me get this straight. Once you get the list paperwork, you don't talk to him again? Oh my God. This is fantastic.
So you delegate the part of having somebody else go to the appraisals inspection.
100%, bro. Let me ask you a question. Are you a professional inspector? Then why the hell would you be there? Are you a professional appraiser? And is it illegal to try to influence an appraiser? So why do you go? I know why, to try to justify your commission. It's the only reason why you go, guys.
So,
Which is fine, but let him ask you. But I'm just aware, guys, listen to me. I sold 2,000 homes in my career, okay? 2,000. You know how many times I went to an appraisal? 0.
Even from the beginning?
Zero.
Not the first one?
Zero. Zero. Zip zilch. I'm not an appraiser, bro. I'm curious. Did you go to school to be an appraiser? So then what the hell are you doing there? I didn't go to one home inspection. Didn't go to one walkthrough.
You have to make sure they appraise the house.
No, you can't. You have no influence over that. It is illegal to try to influence that, brother. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Somebody said, that you can to bring the comparables. Well, again, I know that you see a different. You can bring the comparables, but you can also email the comparables.
Yeah, bro. Why do you got to be there?
If
you think because you're gonna be like, oh, here's my like that's gonna like influence them? No.
If you really want to share the comparables, you don't have to be in the property to share. Like I'm not there. What I do is, and again, to what Aaron said is true. It's illegal to try to influence. Now, it's not illegal to share comparables. Some appraisals, they even ask you.
Yeah, fine.
Comparables. Now, the conversation is, Mr. Appraisal, they're the ones reaching out. Hey, I receive an appraisal request. I want to go to your property.
Yeah, and how
okay.
often do they listen?
Do you have access to Supra?
Fucking never.
Then they have access to Supra. Well, if the property is occupied, I send somebody to meet with them, right? If they have to be there. If not, the seller can open the door.
Claro.
It's a 15-minute situation. But if you want to send the comparables, the conversation, Mr. Appraisal, okay, perfect. The seller gonna open the door for you on Friday at 4 p.m. Is it okay if I share with you some recent sales that we consider to price this unit? 90% of the time they're gonna say yes. And then, okay, can you please text me your email and I'll send it to you?
Simple.
You have to be there to bring up comparable.
That's right. Yes.
So can you also delegate showing of the house then?
Of course.
You already have.
Of course. Hey, here's a really good way. Here's a really good way to emphasize something.
Yes.
What if your seller, your client, is asking you to open a door for them because they don't want to deal with it?
Then send somebody and pay him $50 to open the door.
You can literally send. I have.
Mira, he sends a group chat because we have over 300 agents. Sends a group chat. Who wants to open the door for $50? Somebody's like, beep, and they go open the door.
There's even an application right now where you can pay a flat fee for another agent, another licensed agent that can do that for you. So you don't have to be there. What I do, I don't have the application. I've heard about the application. I have literally have a WhatsApp group.
Somewhere up north.
Claro, can I make a suggestion? Use it for somewhere around here.
Yeah. So I have a WhatsApp group with like 30 to 40 agents. And the sole purpose of that group is every time that I have to do a showing, an appraisal, or meet with a photographer, I just post it there, the day, the time, the property, and I say I'm paying $30. And guess what? Agents raise their hand if they want to take an Uber service. They want to do it.
But do you see how doing these little things are basically up here? What would stop you from doing it? The saver, the staller. You see what I'm saying? The supervisor. I feel like I have to be there.
I travel a lot. That WhatsApp group saved me a lot because it's like, well, I'm gone. Somebody else is showing my buyer's property.
Yes.
I'm not losing the opportunity. That's exactly what this is about. Time freedom.
Okay, let me ask you a question. If there was a stock that normally traded at $750, but it was trading at like $50, and you knew it was really worth $750, how much of the $50 stock would you buy? All of it. All of it. Do that with your time. You understand? If I know my time's worth $750, I should be willing to buy my time for anything less than that. It's going to cost me $250 an hour to hire you? Fine. It's going to cost me $100 to have somebody cut the grass? Fine. You understand what I'm saying? Because trust me, that spills out into other things too.
But you pay somebody to show the property for you because you're buying that time. What are you supposed to be doing with that time?
Being productive.
Be productive, not sit at the beach.
Exactly.
Doing the income producing activities. And if you know that you're not going to be doing those income producing activities, that's when you're like, I'd rather go and show the property. And that's an analysis that you don't consciously do.
Yeah, or you have an internal conflict with the actual activities. So you end up doing creative avoidance behavior. Creative avoidance is where you create something to do to make you feel like you're working, and you're actually not. You're not being productive. Because remember, you only get paid to do 4 things. What are they? Prospect, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. That's it.
Have these been valued?
Helpful. Useful.
All right. So I want to close it out with final thoughts. Melinda, starting with you. Final thoughts on scaling from experience. What do you want to leave this room with?
I think what I want you all to remember is that growing a business is a daily battle, right? No matter what business it is, we're battling. What we're battling is ourselves. And so figuring out your internal battles, whether you ignore the battle or you stuff it in a closet or put it in a drawer, it's still going to be there. So we have to go deep. We got to figure out what our tendencies are, what our defaults are, and how we behave to be able to rewire our brains. And that takes time, and that takes reflection, and that takes mentorship, and that takes coaching, and that takes reading, and that takes, and then just executing, right? And putting things in place to create yourself an environment to thrive. So all these things are really good systems. Some of you probably learned something new, but a lot of the things we're talking about are not secrets. They're not rocket science. So we need to implement, and sometimes we're afraid to do that for one of these 5 demons or whatever. Assassins. And so that's why we go back to what's it all about? Like, what are we doing this for? Why are we afraid? What's stopping us? And really spending time on that, I'm telling you, it'll be worth its money in gold or more, because once you break through on that, you'll really start to see your lives change. Personal and financial and business lives will change once you start to do that. And because that's what it's all, it's not just money. It's about how you're living your life. You're probably showing up in that same fear in other things in your life as well.
And let me say that getting proximity with Melinda, guys, like she's a great. I don't know. I generally don't know anybody in my life that is such a great planner like yourself. Like for real, like she's planning everything. She has SOPs for everything. So anything that has to do with systems, just talk to her. Just talk to her. And she's a giver, guys. So take
I
advantage
won't just
of
close
it.
your deals. I'll help you
There you
with
go.
a lot of other stuff too.
Novello, what do you got for me?
Dear Novello.
Yeah, dear. Yeah, come on, bro.
Gotta keep it up.
Accomplishing anything is 80% psychology and 20% mechanics.
Yeah.
It's 80% what's going on in here and mental maths and beliefs, which are just opinions that you've developed loyalty to, and then 20% the technical component. And doing is better than watching. We have become a whole generation that just watches. You will watch people on YouTube, you'll watch people on you'll watch people do what you want to do. But the way that you learn is by actually doing, not watching. Right? And it's not 10,000 hours, it's 10,000 iterations. You have to be willing to screw something up a lot to get really good at it.
If you don't follow Aaron Novello on Instagram, social media, just follow the guy. I mean, the reason Aaron is truly the example of scaling because, again, once he found the formula on the scaling the business and hire the right people, it's what you use for that free time, that time that you bought back, right? And he did that for 20 years, hundreds of. With me, I have my dear coach.
Dear.
Coach.
Wow, I love that.
Aaron Novello. Who here has seen that face before?
If you haven't, it's my bad. I need to be doing a better job on media. It's my bad.